My name is Zach Quiddick. I'm a product specialist here at Winslow BMW in Colorado Springs. I'm here with the 2021 330i in this beautiful red color here. One of the biggest questions I get asked as a product specialist is how to mount the front bracket, and also I get folks coming in with their car saying, can you put this on for me? So obviously I'm more than happy to do it, but for those of you that want to try it on your own, this is going to be a pretty straightforward and quick instructional video on how to do that the best. So between different models, obviously this is the 3 Series bracket. This will be in your trunk when you buy a new vehicle. And there is this nice kind of curve here on the back of this bracket, which allows this bracket to line up well with that painted part of the bottom of the bumper there. So it makes sense that it wouldn't go down here because there's no place to run bolts there. Makes sense it wouldn't go over the grill there. So right there is the spot, and this is pretty standard across all of our vehicles. Now obviously these brackets are going to look a little bit different depending on the model, but on the 3 Series, this is the one here. Some of the brackets have arrows right in the center that's kind of raised plastic in the back of the bracket. This one, however, does not. Now, the biggest concern that we get with this is making sure that we're lined up. So obviously we can go flush with the bottom of that bumper, and that's not a problem there. But the side to side is a little bit concerning on how much play you have on that. So what I like to do on these vehicles is use the grills to line this up. So obviously we've got 1, 2, 3 out, 1, 2, 3 out, and that's going to be pretty much centered there. So before I do tack that in place though, I'm going to confirm that measurement one last time to make sure we're as close to center as possible. So spend as much time that as you need on that to make sure that it is centered. The next thing you're going to need is some form of toolkit. Now these are just what we use at the dealership here. This is just an electronic screwdriver. You can use a torque driver, a drill, whatever you're most comfortable with. The nice thing about these is they don't spin or torque as hard as like a drill would or an impact driver would. They're just an electronic screwdriver. So with your plate frame in the trunk, you're also going to get a bag of screws, and in that bag of screws, this is just my standard kit here, you're going to get a few of these Torx headed bolts, as well as some of these black round-headed Phillips. So kind of 2 different variations there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through on how to get this mounted. This is the way that I do it. There are many different ways that it can be done. What I like to do is take a self-tapping screw. So as you can see at the front of that screw there, we've got some threads that taps into the plastic, and then we've got the remaining threads on the screw at the bottom there. I like to use the self-tapper to create the hole, and then from there we will use these Torx head to secure the bracket to the bumper itself. So you can use a self-tapper. You can obviously use a drill bit too that is about the same diameter. Just make sure that the drill bit is the same or smaller in diameter to that Torx screw that will come with your bracket kit. What I like to do is now we take the bracket, make sure that we're flush on the underside there. So this isn't like gapped down here. Make sure that that's flush up against the bottom of the bumper. Make sure the other side is flush as well too. And then I just eyeball it to get it centered from here. That's as close as I can get it with my vision. Now I like to look straight down on it and make sure the edges of that bracket are lining up with the outer slats of this grill detail here. And we're honestly pretty lined up there. So what I do now is I take this self-tapping screw, I push it through this top hole, and I create a mark on that bumper. You can use a pencil for this, you can use a marker, you can use a pen. You can also just push hard and create a little dent in the plastic there, just so you know where you're going to be drilling, okay? So we've got our 2 different spots here. I can see those little marks there. So that's where I know I'm gonna be drilling these holes. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my Phillips head. In your case, you may just put a bit into a drill. But I'm going to take our Phillips head here with that self-tapper, and I'm just going to bore out a little hole there. Full disclaimer, should have said this at the beginning of the video, but you are going to be putting holes in the plastic bumper. So if that's something that you do not want to do to the vehicle, you're worried about resale, anything like that, there are different options. Over here we have this plastic tow hook cover that will pop off to reveal a threaded hole that allows you to thread in your tow hook. There's a bunch of aftermarket accessories on like Amazon that you can order. You just type in your year and your make and your model. So 2021 3 Series BMW tow hook license plate bracket, and you'll get this little metal post that will screw into that tow hook that will then come out and allow you to mount a bracket with the license plate on it. So it'll be off to the side of the vehicle. It will also cover this front sensor here too. I know folks that keep them in their front windshield. So if you're in a state like Colorado, like we are, it is required to have the front license plate bracket, unfortunately. But there are different workarounds around it besides putting holes in the bumper. But most people just opt to do it anyway. So we're going to go ahead and put that self-tapper in just far in enough to create a hole. As you can see, I'm taking it out. I'm not actually leaving it in there. And then I clean up any excess plastic that may come out of the bumper. So now we've got our 2 holes created. I'm going to take my Phillips head, swap it out for that Torx head. And we're going to be using these silver colored aluminum, rust resistant, rust free, so to speak, Torx heads here. Make sure that we're lined up on the top and the bottom again. Make sure we don't have any gaps there. And then we're just going to feed this right on in here and let that torque down. Same thing on the other side. And add a little bit more torque to either side. Now we're good to go. We don't want to over torque these. That's why I'd recommend just doing this by hand or using an electronic screwdriver. If you have power tools like a drill or an impact driver and you know like the limits of them before you would just completely strip that plastic, go right ahead. I'm not stopping you at all, but this kind of ensures, because you can feel it kind of tightening in the wrist, that you're not going to be stripping any of that plastic and those threads on those. Now, as you can see, there are 2 empty holes here. This is for folks that want to do double security, right? They want to take 2 more of these and put them into these bottom holes. Do the same thing that we did. Drill out 2 new holes and attach these to the bottom. I don't do that here at the dealership. None of us really do here at this dealership, just because this is pretty tight against here and it's not going to rattle much. And we're just minimizing the amount of holes that are in the plastic. The rest of this is pretty straightforward. We've got the bracket on, nice and secured, and we've got our license plate. Now obviously this isn't a license plate, this is free advertising. We're going to take our little cover here, line it up with those 4 holes. And once again, this is where you can determine, do I want to just do screws in the top to secure it, or would I like to have it on the bottom and top as well to make sure that the bottom isn't flapping, right? So we get a lot of folks here at the dealership that come in and they say they take their vehicles through touchless car washes that have the pressure nozzles in the floor that spray the undercarriage of the vehicle. And if that's the case, then you'll probably want to secure the bottom. Mind the siren. You'll probably want to secure the bottom of the plate as well too, just to make sure that it's not flapping up when it gets pressure there. So we've got our 4 screws here. Just these little short guys that will come in your kit. Swap out our Torx. Back to the Phillips. Hold this up. Seat that on there. And then just torque it down. I don't like to go super far in on that first one. I like to kind of just put them all in there about halfway, and then we'll go through and torque the rest of them down here in a second. That way you can like adjust the centering of the plate on the bracket, right? So our little plate covers here, they have holes but real license plates have oval shaped holes, which means they can slide left or right. And if that's the case, there may be some play in there, and the plate, even though the bracket might be centered, the plate itself might be off centered. So by putting these in just slightly, you can still control and slide this plate around to get it centered. So now we've got 4 screws started up here. I'm now just going to take my screwdriver here and torque those in the rest of the way. That's the process on how to attach a front license plate bracket to a 2021 3 Series. Like I said at the beginning of this video, it is pretty standard throughout all of our models. The brackets themselves are going to differ slightly just because of body curves and where they have to adapt to on the vehicle's front end. But for the most part, this is a pretty standard procedure for us here at the dealership. Once again, like I said at the beginning of the video too, if you'd like to bring the vehicle in and have us do this for you, as you can see, it just takes a matter of minutes. We will confirm that you're okay with us putting holes in the bumper first. This is something that anyone should be cognizant of before they start this. Do I want to put physical holes in the bumper, right? And if there are any questions from here on out, please give us a call at the dealership here. We'll be happy to help you, and hope this video helps out as well too.